For the past year, the idea of Mitch Marner playing elsewhere outside of Toronto has been a huge idea within the NHL community. And now that Toronto has been officially eliminated by Florida in round two, Mitch Marner is officially going to be a free agent come July 1st, and it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. This past season, he had his best point production of his entire career, cracking the 100-point mark for the first time in his career. He had 81 games played, 27 goals, 75 assists, and 102 points, and 1.26 points per game. And in the playoffs, he had stretches where he looked really good and other stretches where he looked very poor. He recorded 2 goals, 11 assists, and 13 points in 13 games played for an average of exactly 1 point a game. And going into this offseason, he's looking to make between $12 and $14 million per year. And he's looking for an 8-year deal to really get him some stability going into the back half of his career. And with Mitch Marner, he's had a very interesting career because obviously he's been part of this Toronto Maple Leafs group that has had a lot of problems in the playoffs. And he's no stranger to those struggles in the playoffs as well, because at times his effort has been questioned in the playoffs, his commitment levels, and he's had times where he's really struggled to score the puck in the playoffs and when the pressure is really on for the team. And with him, he has amazing regular season stats, and he's been one of the top point producers and assists and playmakers in the entire NHL throughout the past 5 or 6 years. But when the playoffs come, him and the entire team have been a constant letdown. And it's hard to really tell whether that's just on him or on his line mates or what's really going on. But at times, his effort and focus have really lacked. But there's a lot of teams that in the NHL will offer him a big contract due to the fact that they just need depth scoring, regardless of whether it's going to come in the playoffs or not. And one of these potential landing spots for Mitch Marner, who has a lot of cap space in this upcoming season, is the Chicago Blackhawks. They've been looking for a player to put alongside Connor Bedard, and they really struggled offensively this past season as a bottom five team offensively. And if you add Mitch Marner, a guy who's an amazing playmaker and can take some of the load off of Connor Bedard, that could be huge for their team, and it could really advance Connor Bedard's development and the development of this team. And Mitch Marner is still young enough that he could be with Chicago for years to come. It would be really interesting to see him go to Chicago because a change of scenery and getting out of the huge media market of Toronto could really benefit him. And playing alongside Connor Bedard could be really beneficial for both of them. Mitch Marner could really help to be a setup man for Connor Bedard, and Bedard could take some of the scoring pressure off of Mitch Marner. And if he goes to Chicago, he'll go from playing with one amazing goal scorer in Austin Matthews to another in Connor Bedard. And obviously, Chicago isn't nearly as talented from top to bottom as a team like Toronto, but they do have a chance to be okay next season and really build around Bedard and potentially Marner going forward. Another team that they could look to sign with Marner is the New York Islanders, and they're another team that isn't necessarily in a spot to win now, but with a few big free agent acquisitions, they really could be a solid team. And Mitch Marner does provide that scoring touch that they need so desperately. The same thing goes with Carolina, and obviously they're still in the conference final and could make a Stanley Cup final this season. But even in this season's playoffs, if you watched my preview video for the Eastern Conference final, Carolina's biggest issue has been their scoring depth and their lack of point production outside of just their top guys. And they need a player like a Mitch Marner who can just provide some depth scoring. They don't need him to be their best scorer, their best playmaker, just a guy who can play first or second line minutes and just produce points. Detroit has the same issue as the top three teams, and they also have a decent amount of cap room to be able to offer Mitch Marner a larger contract. And Utah is just trying to get their feet under them as a franchise still after moving from Arizona last season. And now that they have a name in the Mammoth, I think that they could be a really good fit for Mitch Marner as well. He'd be going from one blue and white team to another, and this team would be honestly fun for him to play with, and they have a lot of young talent that he could play alongside and really be a solid addition to. But I think ideally, Chicago has the best option for him because of the cap space that they have and playing alongside Connor Bedard. This Chicago team, if they play their cards right, could be a real powerhouse in the NHL for the next few years after they complete the 2 to 3 year rebuild. And taking some pressure off of Mitch Marner would be really good for him and for the team because in a media market like Toronto is one of the most brutal, tough to play in cities in all of the NHL because of TSN being there and they're constantly being scrutinized. So the mental relief that he would get from going to Chicago, which isn't as big of a market, would honestly really help Mitch Marner as a player and just as a person. And it would be really beneficial for his career to go play alongside a guy like Connor Bedard, where they could really form a really dynamic connection. Let me know where you think that he'll end up. God bless you. And I hope you have an amazing day. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and have an amazing day. God bless.